Hey guys, and welcome to this episode of Focus Friday. It's getting worse, isn't it? Well, isn't it nice to be back? I hope you enjoyed your week off. I hope you enjoyed the sun. As you can tell, I have a tan. You can't tell, can you? Brilliant. But I wanted to come on here and I wanted to talk about the future. Now, right now, there are so many things going on in the world that we can feel like, hang on a minute, shall we not just focus on what's going on and not the future? Well, I just want to bring a little bit of hope. No matter what's going on in the world and what's going on in your home or what's going on personally in your life, there is always a plan. And in Jeremiah 29:11, God says this, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Now let me make something very, very clear. God is not saying bad things aren't going to happen. He is not saying that life is going to be easy, but what it is saying that He does have a plan for you, and that plan involves a future that will be prosperous. And that prosperous means that you will flourish, that you will do the thing that God created you to do. You'll be happy, you'll be fulfilled. In John 10:10 it says that God came so He could give you life and life to the full. So that's God's plan for your life. However, the truth is that's easier said than done, and the reason being is I want to tell you a little story about a guy called Moses. Right, so this guy called Moses, who's really, really good mates with God, right? And God says to Moses, "Hey, yo, Moses, right? I need you to go to Egypt, and I need you to go and free my people from Egypt because they were slaves." Now, God had a plan for the Israelites. These were the slaves. And God's plan was that He had a promise. And the promise was a land. His promise was the thing that He created for them to prosper, for them to have hope, and for them to have a future. So God chooses Moses, goes into Egypt, and to free the slaves. So to fast forward the story, Moses does this. He frees the slaves from Egypt, and they start to walk towards the promise that God had for their life. Now, the walk that they had to take was through a desert. Now, it would take approximately maybe 11 days to get from Egypt to where God wanted them to be. But it took them 40 years. And not only is this a great story, but it's also a great analogy. The problem was, even though God told them about the promise, and even though God sent somebody to say and to free them and to lead them to the promise, they had to do something that neither God or Moses could do. They had to renew their minds. They had to think differently. And like I said, that journey was meant to take 11 days. However, it took 40 years. And it actually ended up with that generation that God tried to save dying. Because even though God took them out of Egypt, God couldn't take Egypt out of them. In other words, He couldn't take away that slave mentality. He couldn't take away the belief system that they had about their lives, so He could take them to the promise that He had for their lives. And when I was your age, I first encountered this, is that God placed dreams and hopes in my heart. I had big dreams. You probably sat there and you're thinking, yeah, I have a big dream, but do you know what? It's probably just impossible. I'm going to call that an Egypt mindset. Is that if you want to accomplish that dream, if you want that dream, which I believe most of the time God places in your heart, to manifest and become a reality, you have to do the one thing that God can't do for you. And that is to renew your mind. See, now the world tells us to get a good job, get paid and retire. God doesn't say anything about that. What God says is that He has a plan for you. What God says is that He's placed things in your heart, desires in your heart, and He wants them desires to come true. He wants you to prosper. He wants you to have a great life. He wants you to be happy. He wants what's best for you. But you can't do it alone. He needs you to renew your mind. In Romans 12:2 it says this, "Do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing will." The truth is this, guys. You can accomplish any dream, any goal that gets placed on the inside of you. But the one thing that's going to stop you from achieving your goals and your dreams is you. It's this. It's a mindset. And what you have to do every single day is know who God says you are, what God says about your life, and also learn to be surrounded with people that want to take you to that promised land and not take you back to Egypt. And you can look at this analogy like this. Right now you're all sat here on the screen or your phone and you're listening to this message. And you sat there and you're thinking, yeah, I've got dreams and goals. This is great. And you're dreaming about that promised land. And God's now sending a Moses. God's now sending somebody to say, hey, that dream and that goal that you have, it can come true. If you just follow me, trust God, and renew your mind. And that's my message to you today. I want to encourage you to renew your mind, to renew your thinking. I want you to dream dreams that seem impossible, and then I want you to educate yourself, and I want you to develop and work on yourself to change your belief system to the point where you believe anything is possible. Failure is a part of your journey. I can't tell you how many times that I have failed. A lot. But the only reason why I've been successful is because I've failed so many times. I want to encourage you during this time while we're still away from school and we're not in our classrooms, is I want you to read books, watch YouTube videos, but I don't want you to just read random books. I don't want you to just watch random YouTube videos. I want you to pick the books and pick the YouTube videos that align you with your dream. I want you to ask Google a question. How do I become this? How do I do this? Ask YouTube the same question, and you will see so many people that have accomplished the very thing that you want to accomplish. And they will teach you, they will guide you, and they will renew your mind. So eventually you believe that if you just keep walking, if you just keep believing, if you keep just doing what it is that you believe you're meant to do, you will get to that promised land. You will prosper. You will have life, and life to the full. Guys, I love you all so much. And my heart is for you to prosper. My heart is for you to thrive. Every single one of you that knows me by now, I don't like an Egypt mentality. I don't do the world impossible. Because God says this. In Matthew 19:26 it says this. Jesus looked at them and said, "With man this is impossible, but with God all things are possible." All things are possible with God. So the word impossible doesn't exist. I want you to erase it from your mind. Because anybody that tells you something is impossible is holding you back from the very thing that God wanted to make possible in your life. Once upon a time, it was impossible to fly to the moon. It was impossible to have an airplane. It was impossible for electricity. It was impossible for video. But the person and the people that created them things and achieved them things didn't believe in the word impossible. They believed anything is possible when you renew your mind. God bless.